Hello there, and welcome to 8 tips and tricks for a good start in Desynced. This list is full of things that I have made my own experience with and made my early game a lot more miserable than I liked it to be. It's little things, they are easy to pick up, easy to understand, but they make big differences, and I hope that you'll find them helpful. So let's get started with number 1. I want to talk about your mining robots and how to teach them that they're not going to run around like chickens once they're done with mining. Because with the standard configuration, once you connect them to the logistics network, they'll do their job just fine up until the moment that this patch is gone. That's when calamity hits. To avoid that, you right click your logistics network configurations and you go into this area, and your mining machines should look like this. There we go. These guys now will only supply items to the logistics network. That means if you have anywhere a mark where stuff should be, they would drop it off, but you could easily just remove it like that, and then only logistics robots would pick up from here. Whatever you do, keep deliver items off. This is really important because otherwise your robots will run around like headless chickens and do stuff, and you will have to collect your mining robots and send them back to duty whenever a field is empty, and that's just plain out annoying. Also, really worth noting, you can just hover over this guy, press C, and then press V to copy these settings to whatever guy on you want to have these settings on. It's really helpful, and this way you don't have to do this for every guy manually. So moving on over to number 2, I want to talk about the shared storage module. You can find it in the behaviors technology, and it's a really cool thing to make your storage a lot easier. To use it, you install this thing, and then you right click on one of your slots, fix an item to that slot. Let's say reinforced plates, and watch what happens if I unpause. This module just makes it so that everybody who's on logistics duty knows that these items are supposed to be here. You can use this module for so many different ways. You can use it to supply machines directly with their materials. You can use it to supply storage blocks, whatever. When you use this thing, you allow everybody to dump that specific item on that slot. So whatever you say should go there. Your robots will make sure that it'll go there. And this little thing can be used for various obvious reasons. And the only thing that you should pay attention to is that you only do this where it's viable, important, and actually does make sense. Don't use it everywhere. It could it might overbloat your logistics network. Now, moving on over to number 3, I want to talk about a really early game thing, power generation. So before you expand your base too much, try to get your hands on the power transference technology ASAP. This is the technology for power production because this is sustainable input-free power. While basic power does also provide a power production via crystal power plants, this is basically like burning coal, and all the other power producers are basically endless and free. Therefore, my personal opinion is get those solar cells as quick as possible and slap them down so you can expand your base in peace. Don't overuse these guys because they will burn through your crystals, and resources are valuable in this game. If you don't like solars, you might rush towards expanded power and try out the wind turbines, which don't have the necessity of battery play because solar power doesn't work at night. Wind power works all day. So choose to your own liking. These technologies are totally worth working towards to and getting them as quick as possible. Number 4, I want to introduce a very useful little thing, and that's the expanded info tab. So if you hold down Alt over any recipe, it gives you a readout of how many machines are necessary to fulfill that order. So here we see that for this machine producing metal bars, it'll require 1.5 mining modules constantly working. That gives you an impression of how many mining machines you will require to fulfill your orders. You can also use this for metal plates, and you can see how many manufacturers of metal bars you will require. There's a lot of little things that you can go for. When you're holding down Shift and Control, you can also use these for a little bit of less interesting informations. I personally found this invaluable to plan my production chains, because this way you can totally get your numbers straight and you know exactly how much you need of which machine. I like that. So, number 5, I want to talk about something that I call robot redundancy. That is something which goes like this. In the early game, you can build worker robots. These can fulfill so many jobs. Then you can produce dashbots, which are basically just better versions of the workers. They're faster, and they just do the same job, just better. And then later down the road, you will gain access to twin bots, which are an upgrade towards the dashbots. So what I'm trying to get here into is you should really consider well where you expand your robotics army, to what degree. It doesn't make sense to print out 100 workers when, like an hour later, you will get a frame that's so much better, and the same goes for the twin bots. So my personal recommendation is get yourself as fast as possible to mass produce twin bots. These guys will stay with you for a long period until you can get yourself to twin bots, because they actually do have quite a strain on your production. Dashbots are just fine, but don't overdo it here again, because every dashbot you build now is one twin bot that you'll have to replace with, you know? This is just duties that you put yourself up to. Therefore, don't overdo it with the robots, because they go redundant at some point. And after you have reached the twin bot level, well, I'll leave it up to you how you proceed from there. Just know that whenever you expand massively in your robot army, there comes the day where you have to exchange them, or live with the fact that you work a little bit inefficient somewhere. Number 6, I want to talk about blueprints in this game. Blueprints are really easily doable, and they are very, very effective. To create a blueprint, you just select the building whose setup you'd like, you click it, you press L, and then you just select the building you're hovering currently, which is this one, and then you go on Save Current Selection, you put in a name, and then you have that blueprint available to your own liking. As you can see here, I already did a couple of things: solar farms, power poles, small battery houses. And when you've done that blueprint, you can easily select it here in your library and tell the game to set up that building to your own liking. As long as you have the modules available in your fabricators or your storage modules, whatever, you can easily get yourself a building just how you want it plucked down. Highly recommend you to get this into your runs, because it really makes tasks so much easier. And it works with robots too. Just click the robot, press L, and then you can just pick up the blueprint. You can also create folders for these, so you can sort stuff to get some order in it, because you can easily end up with a lot of blueprints. Number 7, I want to show you a little bit about how you can organize storage with logistics tricks. So for one, you can tell your mining machine by using the store button and clicking then a storage block where it's supposed to drop off its loot. So with this little setup, the storage block now will be used for this by this robot. The downside of this is that when your robots wander to other mining fields, make sure that they don't go to an old and far away storage block. You can take this a little bit further. So this storage block now, if you select it and you go on store, and let's say you select this storage block here, you give the order that whatever is in this storage block shall be transferred to the next storage block. This way you can get logistics chains from several buildings to another. So you can also get your logistics robots and put them on transport route duty. This is a very, very useful tool to have dedicated important lanes. Works like this. You checkmark transport route, then you tell the robot a go-to order. This is where it will pick up things. Then you tell it store. This is where it will drop things. Then you enable it. And this now is the sole task of this robot. This way you can dedicate a single robot to a bigger task. This is really, really powerful, since sometimes you just need specific tasks done. As you see here, he's also picking up other tasks, but only when this is not when here there's no work. As you can see, it prefers this one now. You can also easily configure the robot to prefer this spot even more. What I'm trying to get the point in here is, if something needs to be transported from a place really desperately, these are tools you can use to make sure that your stuff flows from A to B well. So, number 8, and that's the last point on my list, creativity. There are many ways to resolve an issue in this game. Many ways. You can even go as far as putting mining lasers into buildings to mine out the crystal by buildings. You can put a power plant on a robot to supply your robot army with power in the field. You can do so many things, and I highly implore you to try out to fulfill these options with some creativity. When you have a crazy idea, try it out and see how it plays out in real, because these are the things that are really making the game worthwhile. And therefore, experiment around what you can do with these modules. It's really cool that you can have a mobile factory, for example, or a mobile research thing. Whatever, there's so many options. I really, really recommend you to play around with that and keep open-minded to go for new resolutions, because this game, due to the fact that you can program your robots so deeply, I haven't touched this in this video because that's no starter thing, but every robot can be programmed to a specific and unique behavior. The options to resolve an issue or to build factories are nigh endless. And this is something you should keep in mind and play around with, because that's, for me personally, what makes this game really special and unique. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a comment, add in good beginner tips that I might have missed out, or put up any questions, whatever. Love to talk with you folks. Leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing. That's a wonderful way to support this channel, and I really appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day, and see you next time.